bounce, we walk down to flush them out. We don't play it with the guns,
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths of men's hearts where courage meets vulnerability and wisdom embraces integrity. In a world that often measures a man by his outer achievements, this podcast dares to explore what truly defines a man of character. We unpack the challenges and triumphs that shape men's lives, bringing to light stories of resilience, compassion, and unshakable faith. We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Good Friday evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast. We're your hosts for this evening's conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer, I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined by my brothers. Up top with me, we got Mr. Roland Martin, Mr. Garfield Martin himself, the Uncle Junior, also known as the Consistency Coach. Below him, you have Mr. Tawami Gaddy, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man. And below me, in his V-Neck's finest, Mr. Roland Walker himself. Poor man's Dr. Phil, Mr. Shift Happens. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday evening?
Now remember,
I'm good.
You throw it out, you know it got to come back. Hey, man, that's I got a name on it. They got a man on a hook.
That's what's up, man. I like V-necks. Nothing wrong with that. Normally, them people with them V-necks got them big muscles. You know what I'm saying?
That's y'all. He been in the gym. You know, he posting gym workout videos and stuff.
Yeah, that do right there.
Yeah, I've been doing all right though.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I'm doing. You know, second week on a new job. Kids come back on Monday, and you know, brain has experienced some strain, which is a good thing. You know, it means I'm growing in certain areas, learning some new information. So, learning new people, learning people's behaviors. You know, it's always, you know. I remember in the military, we were PCS and have a whole new platoon and company and have to get adjusted. So, going through that right now, not a bad thing, but you know, it is always an adjustment when you switch positions or go to a different job.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. I know you are mentally and emotionally postured to handle that.
I am.
Yes,
I
sir.
am, because I make sure I take care of me first.
There you go. There you go. Mr. Son of Timothy, how you doing, man?
I'm well. I just had a week of leave, had to burn up some used to lose. So, you know, I don't know if I'm refreshed because the week kind of ended kind of quick. But, you know,
It always
we'll see
happens that
on
way.
Monday.
It always happens that way when you're on leave. They just fly by.
Ah.
Listen, as always, it is an honor to share in conversation with you fine gentlemen, but equally so, it is always to share for us, and I think I speak for you guys, It is always an honor for us to share in conversation with the livest chat on social media. So that being said, when you're here, we like to acknowledge you by name because that's what we do on this network. So that being said, Michelle Ray, good to see you. Crystal Everett, good to see you. Nick D, The Journey, welcome. Good to see both of you. Adrian Walter, good to see you and welcome. Let's see. What up, B? Good to see you. Miss Bernadette Simmons, welcome to the show. Miss Verlene McCoy, aka Queen V, good to see you. Dan Scuba Fox Alex, good to see you, brother. Be careful on the road. Let me see. Did I miss anybody? Cassandra, good to see you and welcome to this evening's conversation. Again, if you're someplace, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, or even if you're on Instagram, regardless of where you are, just get in the chat and let us know that you're there, because over here we like to acknowledge you by name and appreciate you and give you your flowers now while we have the opportunity to. Real quick admin note, had a great meeting last week. Appreciate everybody who came out. Appreciate everybody who signed up on the Excel spreadsheet. If you have not, by all means, go and get on the Excel spreadsheet and just fill it out. That way we can have a better understanding of a community, of all of the skills that each and every person bring to the table, so that we can understand where you best fit the community. Also, I want to say this now and get it out there early while everybody is here, and I'll probably say it again before the show is over. The premiere for The Hearts of Women is on September 21st at 10:30 a.m. So again, I want to make sure I say that the premiere for The Hearts of Women will be on September 21st at 8:30. I'm sorry, at 10:30 a.m. Right here. So yeah, make sure that we continue to support, because I am excited about that. I'm looking forward to the fire that these ladies are going to bring to these conversations that we have on this network. So if all hearts and minds are clear, unless I missed anything, gentlemen, you have anything you want to put out? No? You guys ready to get it started? Yes,
Ready to get it started.
I got your bulletproof vest on tonight because I'm just.
I do.
That's what
I
I'm
do.
talking
No, I'm taking mine off though.
You taking it out?
I want to smoke.
See,
Unlike the rest of y'all, I still got my IOTV in the garage. I can go
oh my God.
set that on.
Those are terrible acronyms. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with again. So that being said, let's go ahead and get this party started. Welcome back to the Hearts of Men. If you joined us for part one of why modern day relationships are doomed, you know that we uncovered some hard truths about the challenges facing relationships today. The response was overwhelming, and it was clear that there's so much more to explore on this topic. That's why we're here tonight with part two, because the conversation isn't over. In part one, we tackled the erosion of commitment, the rise of individualism, and unrealistic expectations shaped by media, all contributing to the fragility of modern relationships. Tonight, we're diving even deeper, exploring the emotional and spiritual disconnections that leave so many relationships feeling empty and unfulfilled. This is going to be a powerful discussion, and we want you to be a part of it. So share your thoughts, ask questions, and let's unpack together why so many modern relationships are struggling and what we can do to change that. So grab a seat, settle in, and let's get started with part two of why modern day relationships are doomed. Now, last week we talked about what modern day relationships are, and we kind of went down a deeper conversation about that, and why do we believe, like, how do they differ, modern day relationships from traditional relationships? So this week we're going to kind of start with the rise of individualism over collectivism. So the first question I want to put out there is, how has the cultural shift towards individualism impacted our ability to form and sustain meaningful relationships?
Ooh, thunder. I think individualism puts people in the mindset that I don't need you, or that I can be in a complete relationship without you. Whereas in how I see things, I'm complete in myself. Now, if I'm a single man and there's a single woman, both of us are complete beings. But when it comes to God's purpose, when it comes to what He has planned for us, we complete one another when we come together. There's no, oh, well, I'm this and I'm that, or I don't need you. Yeah, I need you to make this thing work. Without you, it doesn't work. Without you, I can't procreate. Without you, there's no family. I can't just say, okay, just because I had a baby, oh, now I'm a family. No, the family started with the husband and wife, and then branched off with them little gremlins.
Man, I look at the world today and I see everything is promoting, take care of your star players, number one, and I get that to its extent, right? Um, I, but I look at it in the sense of I take care of me to be available, hence the name, the available man. But I look at it in a way to be available for the community, right? Like I go to the gym so I can stay healthy for my kids. I'm almost 40 and still got little bitty days. I got to be able to pick them up without my knees aching, my back hurting. And I know, and I'm just being funny, but that's a part of me being available, and taking care of my health. Uh, Roland put up a post about self care day for men, and all of that is cool, but it's more about how I benefit those that I'm connected to. But it seems today as if it's like, well, forget everybody else and only worry about you. And if everybody else is not willing to come into your space the way you want it, the way you were set up, without no compromise to you, and I know you hate that word compromise, coach, but and then it doesn't exist. Then or push them out the way to get them X them out. And so the reason why I feel like that has impacted modern day ability to have meaningful relationships is because if everybody's individually doing their thing and anybody who don't come and mold into the shape of what everybody is, then nobody can make connections because everybody's going to cause friction with each other. At some point, we need to be able to be what is necessary for those who we say we're in relationship with.
Coach, put me in. I got an answer. All right. I got two, matter of fact, two reasons. The first reason is it prioritizes the individual over the relationship. That's one. The second part is it can cause the individual to be reluctant to compromise. Now, Coach don't like the word, but it is what it is. These are my thoughts. And just like Coach said, I am a which called over my own word. Y'all know what it is. Y'all hear it every week. I just can't remember right now because I'm thinking about something else. But anyway, like I said, I think what happens when you prioritize, you prioritize the individual over the relationship. And when that happens, I think, first of all, it's a selfish move. And there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first, but you can't neglect the responsibilities of the relationship. And so what I mean by that is this: I do prioritize myself in my relationship. However, that just means that I make sure that, like Gaddy said, I take care of my body, different things like that, trying to stay around the earth a little bit longer, take care of the finances, yada, yada, yada. But I'm taking care of my body and taking care of the finances for the entire relationship. So it's not that I'm neglecting the relationship for the individual or for myself. But I know we probably get into that a little bit later on. But simply put, to kind of wrap up my talking point, the two things were it causes people to prioritize themselves over the relationship, and it causes a reluctancy to compromise or to adjust in the relationship. If you don't like the word compromise.
I don't. But that's just me because I'm the subject matter expert of moment.
And that's why I said adjust.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about yourself, you may not adjust, the way you move about certain things, like you only think about yourself. And I'm in a relationship and I believe that the man is supposed to take care of the finances, but my wife is a CPA. It don't make sense. You know, I'm prioritizing myself over the relationship or over her ability to be able to perform a certain function within the relationship.
Yeah. And see, for me, I don't see it as a compromise. I see it as a smart decision. So it's I'm an advocate of words mean things. And I think the more we reject the word for other words, then it moves us away from the word. But getting back to the point here, I'm loving what you're saying, all of you actually. And I'm loving what the chat is saying because I'm agreeing. I'm gonna start off with what Dan Scuba Fox said. It's all about me. I want to get in a relationship, but I want the relationship to focus on me because I focus on me. And therefore, if, going by what the prophet Janet Jackson has taught you years ago, what have you done for me lately? So at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship and all you can do is talk about you, you're only in a relationship with yourself. You're not in a relationship with the other person. Oh, yeah, by the way, you may not even understand what relationship is. That's why you go in the relationship, focus on yourself. Relate. How do you relate to the other person? Well, again, words mean things. So when we look at how has this cultural shift towards individualism impacted our ability to, it rejects it. The more individualized, the more self focused you become, it is virtually impossible for you to literally get into an authentic relationship holistically with somebody other than yourself. Even in the standpoint of when you are, and I hate to say it, don't judge me, even at the standpoint of having kids, if you're still focused on yourself, you're probably only looking to glorify yourself based upon the things that you do according to responsibility, because you're looking for somebody to pat you on your back, you're looking for somebody to praise you, all these things. And then what you do not form, it is impossible to sustain. So now let's just say you're in a relationship with said individual, and for whatever reason they had an epiphany. They realized that what they were doing was not necessarily the right thing, and then they try to get things back on track with what is right. But you're going to fight against it. You're going to literally rebel against what they're trying to do. Even though they can show it to you in writing, you will reject it because it does not serve you. So in essence, when we look at this move towards self this and self that and self this and self that, why do we need to put the word self in front of everything? That's where I'll start at. Is love still love, even if you put the word self in front of it? So if love is if love is a complete word by itself, then why do I need to call it self-love? If care is a complete word by itself, why do I need to call it self-care? Isn't it still care? But that's what we do. We move to the tune of what serves us, because at the end of the day, we're literally just listening to what everybody else is saying and adopting it as our terminology, which is why I do not like the word compromise. No shade to none of my brothers up here, but that's just it. What is a compromise? If I am governing myself, there's the word. If I am governing myself according to a governing body that actually helps me to understand how to behave in a certain manner, is not compromise moving me outside of that behavioral status, is not compromise moving me away from what is governing me. So that's the thing I'm saying when I say I don't like the term compromise. I get what everybody is saying, but in essence, is it really a compromise, or is it really more about making a good decision? Like, I love Garfield's example, but like I said, I'm agreeing with you. If my wife is CPA, she is going to handle the finances. I'd be a fool not to let her handle the finances, right? Those are just good decisions. So when we look at certain things, if I feel I need to beat my chest and tell my wife, who's a CPA, to go sit in the corner, I'm going to do this, I never should have gotten a relationship, because again, it's all about me. And so going back to this, that's the issue. It's all about me. It's self-centered. It's self-focused. It's self-grandized. It's self-aggrandizement. It's just all selfish. Like I think it was Gaddy who said selfish, or Garfield. I don't know. Whoever did it, whoever said it, credit to you. I don't want to give it to anybody else. Thoughts, feedback, concerns. Y'all being passive tonight. Okay, very well, very well. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you think that well, I do. I think I know the answer, but do you think that it's a framing of minds to use the word self so much on these major platforms, public platforms? Self love, self care, self this, self that. to the point to where only thing we are capable of thinking about nowadays is self. But that's why these words come out there like that. Is so that you, in your mind, love ain't love. That's why they say you have to love yourself first, and you gotta love the Most High first. But they say you gotta love yourself first, so you can love others. You can't do this for others until you do it for yourself.
See, I don't have a problem with that because I understand that if I don't hold me down, I'm just weighing everybody else down. So no one has to tell me, oh, you need some self-care, because I'm gonna take the time and say, hold up, because I can see where I'm going. I see where stressors may be, or where something may be hindering me from moving forward. I got to recognize that, or if it's brought to my attention, now I got to do something about it. But so I don't have to say, well, I'm doing some self-care or I'm taking care of myself. I don't have to say it. I'm going to do it. Now, people saying things just like they were saying, what's the word of the month that people were saying, demure or something like that. They were saying something that means shy or whatever.
What is that? What is it?
However, the mirror is everybody on social media was like, oh, isn't that so demure?
Yeah, and they were using it wrong. And I hate when people, I'm a dictionary person. And I hate when people take it and run with words that they don't know how to use or spell. But if a person needs time, everybody needs to be so focused on their mission, which other people and other things are incorporated in their mission. When I'm taking care of things of Total Hearts of Men, it's taking care of me. So the focus didn't leave me. I don't have to say, well, I'm going to step aside so I can focus on me for this, that, and other. I can have a conversation with my brothers and say, hey, I got some things to handle so that I can be better for this, that, and other. But I don't have to make it a big thing to do about me taking that time away, because I know when I need to step back. I know when I need something, or my brothers may draw my attention to something that I'm lacking in. And yeah, I need to fix that. I need to handle that. But it doesn't need to be a big to-do thing. I think now we've thrown labels out there, and people love labels because they can attach books and pens and make shirts about it. So now people gravitate towards that.
Let me get you to articulate "hold me down" before we transition to somebody else real quick. Because, and I'm doing this for a reason, because I don't want the person to say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So when you say "hold me down," what do you mean?
Now, when I was saying "hold me down," was I saying my brothers? When something
you say
holding me,
right?
Person, yeah. When I say something that's holding me from being better, holding me, like I may be doing something that I think is profitable for the group, but in reality, it's not. So it's holding me down at the same time, holding the group down. But I need to do the work. So when they bring it to my attention, it's holding the group down. They brought it, since it's me, I got to do the work. They bring it to my attention. Now I can go handle my business. I can take care of whatever it is that I need to take care of, so that now when I go forward, this is no longer an anchor.
I like it.
So I wasn't going to say anything because I like words too. I think words help us understand and can help distinguish between this and that. I do understand and agree with Coach about the, why do you have to attach certain things in front of it? I also think that sometimes when you attach certain things to it, it helps people to identify, and it adds a little bit more context as to what you're talking about. So if I'm talking to someone, maybe a client or maybe a person, I'm a counselor by trade, by day. So it's like, how do I tell somebody to love themselves without saying, hey, do things like self-care, take care of your things. And like someone said, when you look at someone and they're going out there to look, because they have these words and there's books and stuff in front of it, you can go and you can search self-care and you can find a whole bunch of different things like that. So I see it both ways, but in the sense, I kind of like how it is more directly labeled to or attached to a certain type of love versus just being love in general. I think it just helps distinguish when you're in conversation with certain people,
Couldn't I just
especially people who may not actually understand love from a biblical sense.
and they don't. I'll just start off by saying that. They don't. Like both feet, 10 toes down. They do not. It is obvious. There's no way that I can say I love a person today and hate them next month. I'm only lying to myself. Another way, like you said, how do I tell a person to initiate self-care? Take care of yourself. That's it. Just take care of yourself. Only thing we're telling you to do is do maintenance on you. It's just like having a car. You don't love your car. No, you take care of your car. So at the end of the day, if I don't change the oil, if I don't put gas in, if I don't take it to the dealership or whoever you take it to and get the services done, ever X amount of miles or whatever the case may be, then it's going to break down. So will you. So take care of yourself. That is all it is. And I'm not, and please don't think I'm getting aggressive with him. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking to you. I know you know. I'm talking to anybody who's listening. I'm not getting
Yeah.
aggressive with him, right? It's just that I hear it so often, not from him, but just from social media, people out there, self-love, self-this, self-that, self. And to Gaddy's point, it is a conditioning that is happening in real time, and you're adopting it and you're running with it ignorantly and not knowing that that's what you're doing.
So what's the difference in moving the words in a different spot in the sentence? Self-care, take care of yourself. You're just moving the words around.
Perspective. When I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change.
But isn't it a good thing to take care of yourself or self-care? So is it?
Yes, it is a good thing to take care of myself.
It's like
So
if I were to call you ignorant, you would take offense to it.
I wouldn't,
some people,
because I understand what the word actually means.
Right.
Exactly. But if I said, man, you need to work on how you do this, or see how it's framed different. So self-care is framed. I like how Adrian said something about it takes the focus and puts it on me as if I am separate from this, separate from the group. I'm higher than, I'm more important. No, the importance is taking care of self. But now I want the, hey, everybody know, hey, I'm taking a self-care day.
If we really and truly understand, I'm sorry, Gaddy, 2 seconds. I'm on and I'm off. If we really understand the word love doesn't isolate, it collaborates. So the minute that I say self, it's not love. Because all I'm doing is focus on me. If I really understand, and I'll go biblically, if I really understand what it means where it says, love thy neighbor as thyself, there has to be a collaboration that happens first between you and the Most High before you can even love your neighbor. So anything that is individualized is not love.
He said it.
Bad, man. I'm sorry.
You're good. But I always think about it like this. Like, we use these words now, and we've become so accustomed to using it. And I know, Uncle, he's not gaslighting us, but he asks questions to make us bring up a point. Because today's society, we use it so much, people really don't know how to tell people how to take care of themselves without using the terms of self-care. But the reality is, we didn't have those. When y'all were born in the 70s, that word self-care wasn't a thing, but you had the Mac, and them jokers was taking care. They were manicured. I know I wasn't the only one that grew up watching the Mac, but them old pimps for the 70s and 80s, they were well taken care of. They were groomed. They was always clean. So that the concept of taking care of yourself has always been a thing. There's been nail shops and beauty salons and barber shops as long as I've been alive. So how did we tell people to take care of themselves before? Boy, you need to go get your hair cut. We didn't say you need a self-care day. We told go and wash your tail. That's what we told them. So,
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Hey, as you guys can see, we starting at it already. So wherever you are, make sure that you hit that like button to share it. Yeah, he did say pimps. I wasn't gonna say nothing about it, but listen, we do not promote pimpalism here on I made that word up. It's Googleable, right? We do not promote pimpalism here on the Empowerment Perspective Network. All I'm saying is, yeah. But great example. I appreciate that. Okay, in regards to relationships, why do you think the culture, particularly Western culture, transitional primarily from the team of we to the team of me? Say it with your chest.
Money. But I am definitely not going down. Absolutely not. Not tonight.
Man.
We already 30 minutes in
You're right,
on one question. We're going
you're
to having to have a part 6.
Listen, y'all know who Adrian. Y'all know how Adrian is, man. Adrian coming in with these bomb questions, bro. I love it though. That was it. No other comments?
I think money, status, prestige, like you were saying, self-aggrandizement. It's all of that to focus on me. When you can focus on, hey, I'm out here, I'm doing this. That's why you go to any city, you see churches on every corner, because nobody wants to sit under somebody else and learn and do the work. They want other people under them. I want to be the top dog. So same.
I think it's perspective. Here's why. If I have a track record of failed relationships, right, then if I can focus on a team of me, I don't need to be in relationship. And then we have these empowerment groups. And again, like I said, I don't care what it is, men empowerment group, women empowerment groups, they're all the same. Not good. I'm just going to say it that way. So then we have these empowerment groups that focus on my identity, which I identify myself with my gender. And y'all see how that's going today. So when we look at it, it's all about perspective. If I can get you to focus on you, then I can destroy what is supposed to come together and become one. If I can destroy what is supposed to come together and become one, if it's all about me, then when it comes down to these two people trying to become one, what you'll find is that one is trying to dominate the other. Why? Because I spent so much time focused on me. I've been in these groups and they call themselves empowerment. They will just lift themselves up, so forth and so on, but it tears the fabric. It tears away the fabric of what relationship is supposed to be. So I think it's our perspective.
I agree with everything, but in the whole, I would say, in a sense, welcome to Babylon. Right? The idea of self leads to the lack of cultural standards. I tell people the reason why it's so easy to adapt people to the idea of rejecting the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High is because outside of that, it's selfishness. I do what I want to do. I do what feels good to me. I do what make me look good. I do what boasts my everything that everybody says, and the only thing that leads to is sin. I tell in the Western world, when we use the word that I'm free, that we have freedoms in America or in the West, 9 times out of 10, it's the freedom to do what? To be sinful in nature. Really, that's all it is. It's freedom for me to express everything about myself, even if it's even if it's contradictory to the word of the Most High, and even not just the word of the Most High, to the growth of community. We promote more never mind, we're not gonna do that. Whole nother rabbit hole, not gonna do it. But we promote so much stuff that just built more to destroy community than it is to build up community, but it's because it's what feels good to me. This is how I feel today. This is what I want to do today. And so to me, welcome to Babylon.
You muted, bro. Or we just singing?
I was singing. You know,
okay.
I always feel like somebody's watching me. You know, because when you get into those feelings, and like your feelings are valid, but you don't have to validate your feelings. I think sometimes what we do is we make our feelings the preeminence of whatever the relationship is, whatever the status of it is. And I feel like this. Whereas if we were to come together and I know my role, you know your role, so you already know, we can actually communicate because we're both at a point to where we know what we're supposed to be doing. And when it doesn't look like that, then it's like, hold up, we got to step back. Somebody's out of order right here. And when you're out of order, we have to, if we both can communicate, we both on the same wavelength, we're both on wavelength, we're both thinking the same way. We don't have a pattern of that behavior that's disrespectful to one another, that belittles you or belittles me. And I don't have to lift you up, or you don't have to give me your tail to kiss so that you can feel like you're feeling validated and vindicated from something that you think I've done to you. And I'm trying to articulate it to you. But since you don't understand how I'm trying to say it, now what you do is you try, well, you said this. No. See, and that's why when people don't understand words, they'll take it and they'll run with it. Well, I don't like how you said it because you used this word. Well, if you open up a book and read, or just take the time to listen to what I'm saying, you'll hear my heart and stop hearing just the words that are coming out of my mouth, like Jackie Chan said.
So he holding his peace. Very, very good. What is the next question, please? Why does it seem cultures outside of the Western culture still value relationships and family, while it seems said value is superficial at best, primarily in Western cultures? Why do we have superficial relationships?
I think sometimes why other cultures still value it, I think is a lot of it is tied into the culture and their religion. So it's part of who they are. You know what I mean? It's not separate. Whereas like when we look at Black people, they're kind of different sometimes with the culture, or it's all mumble jumbled up and stuff like this. And for me, sometimes it's hard to explain. But so I won't touch on that. I know Roland probably can talk on that a lot better than I can. But I think that, you know, when you look at certain other cultures, you know, and a lot of other cultures that I've been exposed to, like I see that where like family is a thing, where like girls grow up and like they want to be married. You know what I mean? And like dudes want to have families. And I think sometimes over here, we grow up not really wanting that. You know, just being honest, I didn't grow up wanting to get married and want to have kids and stuff. None of that stuff was on my radar, you know, growing up ever. It wasn't part of the culture. It wasn't something that, you know, people preached at us. So I think that has something to do with it. But I don't think it's superficial over there.
I say it goes back to the feelings conversation a little bit, because to me at least, because I think the things that they value over in other countries, we demonize. It don't feel good to us when we look at it. We're so liberated that if you go look at these cultures that really value family and culture and all this other stuff, the way that their men and their women communicate with each other, 100 times fold different than what we do over here. You know, there's a way of living. There's some cultural standards that they are not willing to break. You know, now some might say they compromise, but and not even that, but even the children, and like it's just things, the way that they set up. You know, I had a soldier one time come get his SGLI done, and he was leaving everything to his daddy. I said, "Didn't you tell me before you sat down you was married with like 5 kids?" He said, "Yeah." And you know, me thinking I'm doing the right thing, minding his business and not mine. I'm like, man, put your wife at least 50% so she can take care of your kids. He said, "Why?" "My father would take care. If something happened to me, my father's gonna take care of the kids in her." So, but that the way I think westernized, I'm like, man, that's disrespectful. Y'all over there enslaving these women. This is the way I'm thinking, you know. But he's like, no, this is how it is culturally. So I'm gonna leave the money to the one who's gonna take care of my family if I go. But the way we look at it is, no, you better leave all that money in that woman's hands so that woman can be liberated over the man when you die. Like, but it's the way we think. And I know it don't sound good. I've been trying to think while Uncle was talking. I was trying to think about better ways of saying it, but it really just ain't. It's just the way the cultures are. And so for us, we too stuck in our feelings that is more about ain't no man gonna tell me what to do, ain't no woman gonna tell me what to do, ain't no woman gonna, that we can, instead of looking at it from I'm going to do so that I can be a benefit to my wife, or I'm going to do so I can be a benefit to my husband. We're going to do so we can be a benefit to our kids in the community.
Western, give me liberty or give me death. And when we sought liberty, we sought the freedoms from tyranny, the freedoms from oppression, the freedoms from legalities, the freedoms from rule. That's what they sought the freedoms from, freedom to choose their religion, to choose what they wanted to do. And it just trickled down, because the further you get away from standards, your freedoms become oppressive to the standard. So now, instead of doing right, you make wrong right and right wrong. So now it becomes the norm. And when that becomes the normal culture, because this is the melting pot, now we take on everybody's little, hey, if you were running from that, you can do it over here. If you were running from that, you can do it over here. So now everything goes. Whereas you go to other countries and they're like, hold up, we don't do that over here. And then we'll go over there and try, well, oh, you being oppressed by your husband. I'm being oppressed. And we're looking at it like it's oppression, when in actuality, it keeps their family structure, their societal structure. It keeps them at a plane to where everything can function and every role is respected, but everyone has a role.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep mine simple because I think you heard it 3 different times. The reason why this is the case is because family. We don't value family the way that other cultures value family. And because we don't value family, we don't value community. And because we don't value community, then what ends up happening is that everybody's expendable because me, right? If it's not about me, if it's not focused on me, if it's not about what I want, then you know what? It is what it is. It's superficial. So we jump in and out of relationship like hopscotch, just keep jumping. And next thing you know, before you know it, you've been in 10, 15, 20 different relationships in your entire lifetime and still get to the point of, and I don't want to call nobody name in particular, but a very well-known actress in Hollywood is at the point now where she says she is ready to be married. But prior to, not so much, because she was focused on me. Okay, moving on to the next question. For the sake of time, I'm gonna jump on this one. Why is jealousy always a problem for people in relationship and communities? Immaturity. That's why. That's just as simple. I hate to just make that answer simple, but that is always the answer. Any person who is jealous, they're immature and they don't need to be in a relationship. Moving on to the next question. As a culture, why do we easily adopt or follow trends? Is that our way of supporting the culture? We so easily follow trends because of a lack of identity and just wanting to be accepted by anything that goes along. And is that our way of supporting culture? Absolutely not. Moving on to the next question. If people actually listen more than just hearing their partner talk, would that mitigate individualism in relationships and thus mitigate how doomed relationships feel these days? Good question. May I? Okay. The catchy part of this is to identify listen. I think too many times we either kid ourselves or kid anybody else saying that we listen, but in all actuality, we don't listen to understand. We listen to hear or listen to respond. The lower end of it is listening to respond. The next higher one is listen to hear so I can respond. And then the higher form of it is listen to understand. We do not listen to understand because in most cases we have our own thoughts and ideas already formulated in our head while the other person is talking. Hence, the myth about communication happening is that it actually happened. So if people actually listened, let's start there. Okay. more than just hearing their partner talk, would that mitigate individualism? That is a start. Okay. The way to mitigate individualism is they got to reshape this thing right here. They got to reshape their mindset, not just their thought patterns. They got to change the way they look at things. They got to value family. They have to understand what, number one, what a relationship is. And I'm not necessarily talking about, a relationship to be married, just any connection with anybody else. If you have a problem esteeming somebody higher than yourself, then you have a problem with relationship. Therefore, if I can't esteem my brothers higher than me, then how do you think I'm going to esteem anybody else higher than me? These my dudes right here. These my bros. Like if I can't esteem, like if Garfield called me and I'm busy and I can't stop what I'm doing to listen to what he's talking, what he's saying to me holistically, and then respond to him honestly in a way that serves him best. Same thing with the other two below us. In a way that serves them best, then I do not understand relationship. So I shouldn't even be seeking to be in relationship with someone of the opposite sex. I am only kidding myself when I say they're different. The word, the phrase, the moniker different is just an excuse that we use so that no one can judge what we're doing. Everybody's different. Sure, everybody is different-ish, right? We're more alike than we are different. So if we pay more attention to our likenesses as opposed to paying more attention to our differences, then what we'll find is that if it's a principle, the principle will work for myself. It'll work for Uncle Junior. It'll work for Gaddy. It'll also work for Roland. But because we're different, what I'm doing is making the excuse before I even get it started, because I'm letting you know up front, I'm not going to put forth any effort of what I tend to call sustainability, work through it, do whatever it takes. And then next thing you know, breaking up, divorce, all these other things that sever becomes a viable option day one. If this person does that, all bets are off. Stay by yourself. Stay single. Because if that's your mindset, you don't understand relationship. You do not understand marriage, and you surely don't understand love. So as much as I greatly appreciate this question has multiple layers to it. And I'm so glad he asked that. It's not about him, brother. It's about changing your mindset. It's about understanding. It's about getting back to the point to where we value family, to where at the end of the day, it's not just one part of the parenting tree that's glorified. It's both parents being viewed as equal. Honor thy mother and thy father. I know you did, bro. I know you do. That's why I say I love your questions. Honor thy mother and thy father, not how I feel about what they went in there. That's their relationship. Stay out your mom and daddy relationship. They ain't got nothing to do with you. Do you want your mom and daddy to get in your relationship when you messed up a little Johnny or Tamika? Come on, man. It's ridiculousness. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Moving on to the next question. Let's jump down to the influence of media and unrealistic expectations. Okay. How has the portrayal of relationships in movies, TV shows, I know somebody's going to talk about Bill Cosby, and social media shaped our expectation of love and partnership?
Man, I remember we used to watch The Cosby Show. Since you said it, I'll bring it up. Man, what happened to all them shows? Even like Roseanne, like even though they had their drama, like I think there was more realistic than the Cosbys. You know what I'm saying? But either way, there were still shows on TV, that we used to watch, even though Andy was a single father, he had Aunt B and Opie. I watched Andy Griffin. I still do sometimes. I catch it. But, I just think, what people want to see now has changed. The limitations on what you could show on TV now have changed. You can watch and see any and everything on TV and social media now. Relationships depend on which side of the algorithm you on. All you see is trash. You see single mothers, you see Pookies and Ray Rays, and you see these negative shows that don't do anything but feed into the destruction of the nuclear family, right? If you're on that side of the algorithm, you see all of that stuff. So, and I think that, a lot of time when we have these conversations that we're talking about on social media, for the most part, that's what people are being shown. Me and Coach, we've been, and everybody on here has some shape, some form, or some shape of social media and have been for a while. And we can all tell you that we can post a YouTube video of the Empowering Perspective podcast or Uncle Junior Network Coach's Corner or something like that. You might get 2 or 3 likes, maybe get a share or something like that. Man, if we post something that's trash, man, we have people sharing it, people liking it, people calling you, talking to you, and texting you about it. Man, that video you posted, blah, blah, blah. So I think, for a lot of people, their appetite for trash and for certain types of things has called people to shape their have a different opinion or different expectations about love and partnerships.
I go. Since you brought up the Cosby Show, it's funny, and here's why it's funny, because I was one of them. We've always been critical of modern TV shows, but not critical of the Cosby Show, because he put the idea of being educated and black, into the minds of a different generation, and I do appreciate that. What that the fact that we can become something other than whatever we saw around us. We could be doctors and lawyers because that's what they were in the end. But the things that I don't think we really paid too much attention to is Daddy wasn't really much of the teacher. In a funny way sometimes. Everything it was joking, but things really got serious when Mama got involved. When she put her foot down, everything was kind of just played over when it came to the father. Even the idea of college and education, the only son, was the one that had to struggle with learning. But for the girls, it was just an easy breeze. They just granted, the one girl got pregnant in real life, so they had to make her college life a little different. But that's just because she had real life family issues. But even then, when they transformed over to a different world, there were men in college, but the highlights were not on. It's weird how to explain it. But when I go back on and I watch it, and my wife watches it at least 3 times a year, the whole series straight, and you just see the focus is off of is just off. I don't even know how to explain it. But we loved it because it had positive teaching. It didn't teach us being hoodlums, gangbangers, doing this. It was about going to school, but we missed small little things. Fathers are not teaching. They're in the house, but Daddy is the one that plays. He's not the one that disciplines in that direct. He's the one that comes up with the jokes. When he watched the kids, they playing their little game on the lap with the little kids, and that's really what the mindset is. It's like when I look at relationships today, really you only hear, and I hate to say it like this, but as fathers, you really only here to play with the kids, and I hear this so much, and I'm only speaking for my age group, right? But because I think this is where it's affected at, because I always hear, well, I need to be the type of mother I've envisioned. I need to be the type of mother I always wanted to be. I need to raise the kids the way I want to as a mother, because the father probably was a disciplinarian. The father wanted to teach. The father wanted to be involved with the decision making. And that's contrary to what we've seen growing up. That's contrary to what we've been taught growing up. It's no, daddy just plays with the kids and gets out the way, so mommy can do what she wants to do, But then when mama becomes overwhelmed, she's mad at daddy for not being more involved. But I digress.
Y'all being nice about this TV thing. I think the TV my father used to always call it a boob tube. It's tail lies vision. And what it was there to do was to get you to sit down and put you in the mindset that this is the way you should live. And then it went from Little House on the Prairie and I Love Lucy and things like that. It went from Sanford and Son and Good Times to now you have positive role models. And then it switched up again. They say, okay, if we're going to be showing them how to live again, how to live, let's make the societal norms come from within this boob tube. So now everything that's put out into the airwaves is how they want you to be. And then you start emulating those people. Real Housewives. You start treating your mate like they treat them. You say, oh, I'm supposed to have this and neck rolling and all that. So now that becomes the norm. All the attitudes, and it's always the negative stereotypes that get pushed the most. And anything positive, they're going to take that off. They'll put that on at night. But those positive things, it won't happen. Because I know I can't watch a cartoon. I can't watch, I don't care if they killing, can you say unaliving aliens or what's it, like The Walking Dead. You can't watch a show without two of the same sex kissing or being in the same relationship. And then your kids are watching it. So now, oh, that's norm. So now the norm becomes whatever the TV said it was instead of what. So the TV is more powerful than your voice because you're putting them in front of that mess. You're putting them. They got the iPad. They got the it's on your phone. I watch TV from my phone more than I do the TV. I got a 75-inch TV. I sit up there and watch it from my phone because I'm just watching sports and all that other stuff. So now, since they've dumbed down what's being shown to us, society has become dumbed down and has become numb to the things that they should be focused on getting rid of. And we are adamant about pushing those things that just make us happy.
I agree. I love it. Huh?
My bad. I was saying it's because I need me time and my self-care time. So I got to put them in front of the TV.
Good point. I love everybody's perspective as it becomes this, but I'm agreeing with you, Roland. They were kind of pulling the pun. They were being nice just now, bro. I'm with you. Again, words mean things. It's called a television, TV for short, right? So tele, which is all about, projecting over distance, right? Telephone, you can talk to a person over a distance. Television, so over the distance, I can implant into you, injecting you a vision, right? You look at TV, you're looking at different programs. Those programs are designed to program you based upon your perspective of what a thing is they're showing you. So when you start looking at what these relationships, well, y'all talk about the Cosby Show real good. I want to talk about one that's popular. That was popular, probably still is popular. Grey's Anatomy, right? Great, and I don't know if y'all brothers ever seen Grey's Anatomy. It's about a hospital, teaching hospital, whatever the case may be. They work ridiculous hours, and they was in and out of relationship with each other simply because they worked together. And I mean, yeah. In relationship was like a fly-by-night thing, going back to the Cosby Show thing. You got a doctor and a lawyer working together, and for whatever reason, they always had quality time to spend. What? How that doesn't make any sense. The two of the most demanding professions there are, right? And they got time to spend together, sit down and talk with their kids and eat dinner every night. No, that ain't true. Listen, Cliff was the first person to do teleworking because he worked in his own house. You know what I'm saying? He just walked down the basement. Like, come on, man. Let's be completely transparent. So they made at least about $200,000 a year living in New York, and they had 5 kids, and everybody always came to the house. They was always at events and things of that nature. Like it doesn't even pass the common sense test. And then it just doesn't matter which version of the TV show you want to talk about. It gave you a perspective of something. Now that's then. Even when you go back to what is happening now, it's even more unrealistic now. because what they're trying to do is desensitize you from the things that you believe is right. And again, what you believe is what you believe. I'm not trying to condition you in any shape, form, or fashion. But again, what you believe, what your belief system has told you over the years, don't worry, the television will tell you something different, because eventually that becomes your vision, then it becomes the norm and it becomes accepted by you. Well, I'm sorry, governance is not about acceptance. That's why I don't do compromise. Governance is about what the laws, statutes, and commandments say. So if that's the case, then this is the thing that governs our behavior. I don't care what the TV say. I see it, but I don't believe it. I'm not accepting that as a way of life for me. Now, then you start factoring in some other things. What if your loved one? Okay, cool, I got it. But if that is a conversation we have, that's a conversation we have. You ask me a question, I'm gonna be honest with you. But if you don't ask me a question, you live your life the best way you can according to what you understand and what you actually believe. And in most cases, most people get their laws, statutes, and commandments from movies, TV shows, and social media. That is the biggest problem that we have. People spend more time on social media than they do talking to their parents. They spend more time on social media than they do talking to their kids. Their kids spend more time on social media than they do learning for them. So when you see a 17-year-old person who made X amount of $1 million on social media, you have zero proof and evidence of this, by the way, but that's what they're telling you. And so in your mind, you're like, oh, I can do it too. Sure. And you can become the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys next year if you just start right now at the age of 16. Come on, man. Let's apply some practical knowledge to this thing. You know, we have to really stop and process all of this in a likelihood. We're talking 1% of the 1% of the 1%. That's who makes it to the NFL. 1% of the high school people, 1% of the high school athletes will get a scholarship to college. 1% of those in college will actually get an NIL deal or get drafted by the NFL. And then 1% of those people can actually walk on because they didn't get drafted. So 1% of the 1% of the 1% will actually make it. But yet we will look at TV, we'll buy into the hoop dreams because you got people like LeBron James, who was like, is a phenomenal athlete who goes straight from high school directly to the pros. And little Ray Ray can do it too. I'm not saying that little Ray Ray can't, but why hang your hat on playing the lottery? Which, oh yeah, by the way, is exactly what we do in a relationship. We play the lottery relationship because these things, modern day relationships, again, are not based upon a principle that says we. It's based upon principles that say me. Biggest problem. I like Dan Scuba Fox question earlier. It was all about, should we accept honest feedback? Yep, I agree, bro. We should accept honest feedback. But here lies the problem. We live in a world that if I be completely honest with you, I run the risk of offending you. And oh my goodness, we would rather walk across hot, cold, bare feet before I offend somebody because I want you to like me. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem. People won't give honest feedback out of fear of offending somebody and them not liking them. And then in most cases, the person who needs the feedback, they're conditioned, because the first thing that happens when somebody else tells you about you, that ain't me. I'll never do that. I don't know who you're talking about, but you ain't talking about me. So that's like, all of this is the thing, right? So when you have these things happening, you're trying to help people by sharing observation, right? This is what I've seen. And it automatically becomes like fighting a hyena. Doesn't pass the common sense test to me. Okay. Hey man, y'all be getting quiet. Appreciate you. Okay, moving on to the next question since we got the. All right. What impact does the constant exposure of curated, perfect relationships online have on our self-esteem and relationship dynamics?
Oh man, that's pressure right there. I think I think for some people it can cause a certain level of pressure. You know, when you look at the perfect relationship and you look at the perfect wedding, you know, some people may see spending $50,000-$100,000 on a wedding. I think just recently there was a guy who, I think they charged $250 or $450 for people to come to their wedding, and he was shocked with $450, and he was shocked that no one attended the wedding. So they were out there on this journey looking for this perfect relationship or this perfect wedding. And there is no such thing. There's a perfect relationship or perfect wedding for you. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times these people are going there with these egos and, they're trying to show off to everybody else. And, at the end of the day, a lot of these people are getting divorced anyway, So I think that when it puts a lot of pressure on people to try and achieve this utopian or this perfect type relationship or a certain relationship dynamic. This is how you're supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to be, yada, yada, yada. And, they look at someone who they may see as having the perfect relationship dynamics. But what they forget about is that they're only seeing certain clips or certain portions of the relationship, especially when it comes actually anybody's relationship, unless you're around these people all the time, like you're just getting snippets. When you go on Facebook and social media and these different platforms and you seeing these people, you're only seeing a small clip of their entire life. You're seeing a matter of seconds of their entire life. These people are married for 24 hours a day. And, maybe some of them let you tune into their life for an hour or two here or there on a podcast or something. But for the most part, you're only seeing a very minute portion of that relationship, So when you see, how many people were super happy when Ben and J-Lo got back together. And it was like, oh man, they got back together. Oh, they're like the perfect couple. She's so beautiful and he's so handsome and they're successful and they have all this money and they're divorced again, So that's my 2 cents.
I think when I was going to say something about Ben and J-Lo, but when you look at people who seem to have perfect relationships, it's like driving by the car lot, not appreciating your car, and then you go home and you wishing you had that. You wishing. And my grandmother used to say, wish in one hand and do something else in the other, see which one fill up first. But because that is when I'm constantly focused on something outside of my relationship, whether that be with my brothers, whatever relationship you have, it's like whatever grass you water, whatever grass you nurture, that grass will be greener. So we watch these shows on TV and, I don't know why we do it. Call me wrong. You can say whatever. But talking about the queen, the first family and all that, I don't know none of them people. I don't care about none of them people. Whatever happened to them happened. But I'm not focused on them so much to where I think that their doo-doo don't stink. That with and that was a problem with me in the military because I'm looking at like, hold up, this dude, when he take a dump, he wipe just like I wipe. So we both got to take a shower. We both stink. We both, so there's no difference. It's just he's elevated himself to where now I got to praise you. No, I'm not praising anybody like that. I don't look at people like that. And I think TV has made it to where we have these stars and we're fans and, oh, this person is that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Beehive. I'm not a fan of Cardi B and them and all these other people with fake stuff. But we look at these shows, look at these people, and we make them our idols. So now we want to be them, or we're so fixated on them that we want our friends to be like those friends, our mate to be like those people. Well, what's his name? They got such and such Kobe got her a ring, a yellow diamond. When Kobe got yellow diamond money, I mean, I can get you some like Tyrese had on the other day, but I can't get you nothing better than that. So we focus on those people and we lift them up so much to where they are our gods.
First of all, don't come for Tyrese and his fake jury, all right? I'm about to say, I done approached a lot of girls in the past talking about some, want you to be my lady. Let me stop. Oh, my bad. Um, I just played. But man, the one thing I hate seeing on social media today is a drawing or a picture, and then the caption says relationship goals, and women and men are fantasizing this perfect life based upon the fact that this lady is laying on top of her man. Nobody know what happened before the picture, after the picture, the night before the picture, how long they argued about how they gonna pose for the picture, whether they argued about whether they were gonna do a photo shoot in the first place. Nobody talked about that. But it's just like relationship goals. I want to be able to just jump on my man's back. Well, you jump on my back, I'm gonna throw you off because I got, I'm sorry. Uh, but you, those are not reality. Most of them people not living like that. She ain't laying on top of that man all day every day. He probably get on her nerves. And she probably get on his nerves, you know. But brother, but but I think we've gotten to this point to where we're looking for a fantasy that was sold to us, whether by Disney and all of these princesses being saved by this handsome prince, right? Which means you got to be a damsel in distress first. But anyway, but there's a show that I like, and I know I'm going on, but this is a show I like on Netflix. I think Rosa might have put me on to it, maybe not, but it's called Love Is Blind. When they go sit in the pods, all right. The part I love about it is when they get out the pods, they go to Mexico. Some of them don't make it out of Mexico because they don't like each other. They didn't look. They're not attracted to each other, or the person becomes more annoying than they thought, or they get home and come to find out they're really not compatible, and they get left at the altar. But and the funny thing about it is the reasons why they break up are never related to the reasons why they chose each other in the pod. But when they were in the pod, it was all about lovey dovey feely. Oh, he made me feel so good. She made me feel just everything I ever wanted in a man, everything I ever wanted in a woman. And then you get home and you get back to wherever you from, and you find out, oh, she's overbearing. Oh, he's a psychopath. Because this one episode, the dude from the one season, dude was a little. Woo-hoo. But anyway, but you couldn't tell that in the pods. But that the pods have become how we come into relationships now. We're looking for that pod feeling. We're looking for that emotional. Oh, they just made me feel so well. Made me feel so good. But then after you get into those relationships and all that superficial feeling and all those superficial conversations you had about nothing that's related to longevity of the relationship fades away, and you find out that everything about this person gets on your nerves. I'm just saying. Get out the pod.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my eyes were leaking over here. I do apologize. I think I think everybody is still looking for the fairy tale. That's the answer. You know, we were fed those, those fairy tales. Wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying we were fed fairy tales years ago when we was young. Snow White, seven imps, all the Rapunzel, somebody coming to rescue you. Then probably about, high school time frame, whatever the case may be, you see Prince Charles and Lady Diana, and it's televised, and she has this long flowing dress. I don't care. That's the issue. Like, I don't want to see your little wedding on TV. I don't really care how long your dress is. I don't care how much money he spent on the tuxedo. I don't really care how long the limousine is. I don't care about the caravan that takes you to so you can stand at the altar and wait on your bride. Like, why do you think I care about what you got going on when it comes down to that? It's all a fairy tale plot to kind of get you to reach deep into your subconscious and pull it back out after you probably done did some work on yourself and suppressed it or got rid of it or whatever and stopped believing in it. The next thing you know, here it comes again. And then periodically you'll get these different feel-good stories. What is it? Meghan Markle and what's the dude named Harry? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, really, I don't. And I think the problem is that we care too much about the wrong thing. We focus on it is all an illusion. Let me say it like this. It is all an illusion. It is a thing of theory to you because you have never witnessed it or ever lived it in your own life. So anything that is not tangible or experienced is theory for you. And I think too many times we spend too much time looking at a model of something, not necessarily knowing the truth behind it, the details behind it, or any of those things. And what you do is that, ooh, I want that. And then what you would do is that becomes the staple of your own delusion moving forward, because now you live in a delusional life. And so I want to do this, I want to do that. And I think it was Gaddy Roland who mentioned the $450. I'm not paying for your wedding. I'm coming to eat, bruh. For real. Show me where the reception's at. I'm gonna skip the ceremony. Let's go straight to the reception with a chicken. I'm just, I'm joking, but I'm being serious, right? Why does it make sense that somebody pay for your wedding? Like, where did you think this up at? How deep in the bottle were you when you came up with this concept and think that everybody else was going to pay for your ignorance? That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. We make stuff up and then we try to pitch it to people because that's the world we live in. The world we live in says that I can go in my think room and come up with something, and then I can pitch it to you. And as long as I get enough people to believe it, voila, you'll pay for it from me. And that's what, no, it doesn't make sense. Like, why in the world should I pay for your marriage? Because you're trying to live a marriage that looks just like, I don't know, something you've seen on TV, something you've seen as a little kid, whatever the case may be. It makes little to no sense. And then you end up having this concept because the words have been given to you, right? And I did this then. I was a little disappointed in the response, but it is what it is. The words have been given to you. And we talked about it before. Happy life, happy wife, right? The wife, your spouse is your better half. No spouse is no better half. You are a half that makes up a whole. That's the answer. Like, if you look at the yin and the yang, that's a perfect depiction of it. Like, one is not bigger than the other, one is not greater than the other, but they fit together in unison perfectly to make a perfect circle. That's what it is. But if you're walking around thinking that, oh, my spouse is my better half, sorry, you're subject to that mindset and everything that happens afterwards. And you have just submitted yourself to that. That's the issue that we're seeing. That's the concept. That's the notion, right? We joke about it, in conversation, bruhs, because we're joking with one another. But I really don't believe, and I know all three of these brothers are married, and their wives, they're my sisters. But I really don't believe that they believe that their wife is their better half. I believe that all three of them believe that we are both equal parts of this unity that we actually have, because that is the truth.
Can I add to?
Yeah, man.
This is called the Hearts of Men podcast, right? So I'm gonna share some heart stuff. As a coach and as a leader in the military and stuff like this, ran across a lot of men. And I would say for this question, one of the big impacts that this has on relationships and specifically men is sometimes they feel inadequate. The wife or the person that they're or the woman that they're in a relationship have these big, huge expectations. They may not understand money. And they're like, this is what we need to do. We need to spend our money on this. We need to spend our money on this. And some of it is not logically thinking because they have a fairy tale life, or they have been taught or shown what a fairy tale life looks like their entire life. But then now a man comes into this and he may feel inadequate because he can't provide the 25 carat ring. He can't provide the, renting out the 16th chapel. You know what I mean? He can't imagine and can't afford all of these fairy tale things. And then I think sometimes with that, they may feel some insecurity. Insecurity sets in and stuff like this. And I think these can be big killers for a relationship, and I know that there's a lot of women who watch the show. There's men who watch this show, but I just kind of want to speak from the heart of, a lot of men who I've talked to over the years and have been in this situation to where their wife has an expectation of how the relationship is supposed to be, and they find themselves on the short end of the stick or feeling inadequate or insecure in their relationship. Good, bad, or indifferent, there are some men who have been in some of these situations before. So just wanted to speak to that.
And I think I like to cook, and if I find a recipe, I may see the person make it, and they give me all the ingredients to get, and I do exactly as they said. But when I taste it, I'm like, yeah, this ain't the same, because they've learned over time and work how to work with the ingredients, how to make the nuances work together. Oh, you got to cook this first. You got to add this. And then when you make it work, then it tastes like the final product, whereas you just threw some things together. That's how we do. We watch TV and we think, oh, I'm going to throw that in my relationship. Oh, she going to be a freak in the sheets and a lady in the street and all this other stuff. And you add that to your relationship. So now you expect that. So when you come home, you like, why she got that bonnet on? Why she got that muumuu on? Because on TV, they wearing the little teddies and negligees and stuff. And she looking like, why you got that little belly out? It's like you're expecting things that aren't in your relationship and had no place in your relationship because it's fictitious. Now you got to do the work on yours and stop looking at everything else and everybody else, wondering why yours isn't working.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's not, and I want to make sure that I'm clear when I'm saying it, because I love what you guys are saying, especially Garfield. On the other side of that, before they get married, they just ain't gonna do it. That's where we are right now. And pay close attention. It is blaring, it is glaring, and it is obvious. For those people who are married and then come to that realization at a later point in time, sure, they feel inadequate, they get a little frustrated. You ask them what's wrong, they're sitting by themselves because they're thinking, they're trying to figure some stuff out, right? But then on the flip side, for those who have not been married, they're not going to do it. They're not going to subject themselves to your will. You're not God. And that becomes the biggest problem. So, again, just being transparent. I know it does not nope, not doing that. No, I know it doesn't feel good. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Moving forward to the next question. So tonight's topic is why modern day relationships are doomed. And my goal is to stick with that all the way through, so that we can actually get finished with this. I'm not going to change the narrative tonight. Moving forward to let's go to emotional intelligence, the decline of emotional intelligence and communication. In what ways can poor communication habits, such as avoidance or passive aggressive, undermine the foundation of a relationship? I'm sorry.
Man, I don't know how many times over the last couple of years we have talked about communication or effective communication. That is one of the baseline things that you need to have in your relationship in order for it to have some level of success. If your communication habits suck, and you have avoidance or you're passive aggressive or many of the other things that are talked about all the time that you could be, that is contributing to your poor communication, like it's not a good recipe for success in a relationship. Like if me and Shell was talking about communication earlier. And at the end of the day, she's very soft spoken. So sometimes I have to ask more than once, and because she's very soft spoken, or we may be at a restaurant and someone may have to ask her twice, and the thing about that is your communication, your delivery, your communication to the other person is only as effective as it's being communicated. If the other person can't hear you, they can't understand. Like someone can be up here right now speaking, great words, but if the other person on the receiving end doesn't speak English, they're not going to be able to receive any of it. So it's very important for the communication to be effective in a relationship. And if not, it's like I said, it's just a recipe for a disaster. So recipe for disaster.
When I'm reading this, I can't stop asking myself, why do people use avoidance, and why do people use passive aggressive tactics as their form of communication when it comes to complicated topics in a relationship? And I'll start with like avoidance. I feel it's twofold, right? Because I think some people just have either childhood or past relationship issues or trauma that causes them to avoid hard topics because, and it kind of goes to a little bit of what Uncle was saying with the last topic, but in the sense of, as men, you get in enough relationships, it's easy to believe that as men, your voice is not valued, right? Because of course we were taught the happy wife, happy life concept, so the mindset has, easily goes to, ain't no point in having this conversation because she just gonna do what she want to do. Don't nobody want to be with somebody who can only do what they want to do. And so when that becomes the framework, sometimes avoidance come in because it feels as if the conversation becomes pointless. And so, but that's only one fold. I also feel avoidance as well as passive aggressive. I feel it's also used as a tactic to manipulate the other person to respond a certain way, either to get them to talk, either get them to behave a certain way. You want to make them angry because they made you angry, whatever the case may be. And so you avoid each other, or you do these passive aggressive behaviors or communication tactics because you don't want to address the situation up front, because then it means we have to have a real conversation. And I'm learning that most people don't want to have a real conversation because that means you get to speak as well as I get to speak. You get to address as well as I get to address. You get to point out as well as I get to point out. And some people only want to focus on the other person's change. Now I'm worried about you doing what I want you to do. I'm worried about you being who I want you to be. I'm worried about you. And so we use these tactics to manipulate the other person. Well, that undermines the foundation of relationships because it's not about two coming together. It's about you making the other person come to you and be what you want them to be, while you don't move at all. Because this is who you are. If you're like, well, that's who they were. Why they got to change? That's all.
I think it's a blatant sign of immaturity. I think it's just immaturity at its finest, because even when people say, well, you made me mad or you make me sick, what they're doing is saying, I'm not mature enough to control myself. So I allowed what you said, what you did, how you acted to control me, because I can't control me. I'm not in control of me. So whatever you do sets me off because I'm not in control of me. So it's your fault that I'm not in control of me. And when you have immature people communicating or talking, having a discussion, an argument, or whatever, it'll end like that, because when people use passive aggressive jargon and whatnot, saying things that, being sarcastic, being smart, being snide, whatever you want to call it, in the conversation, it's to make you know that they don't agree with what you're saying, but they're going to act like they agree, and they're going to give you some, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you right all the time. It's like, you might well just say nothing. The mature thing is just say nothing, because I will okay you to death to squash the conversation, because I don't like to argue. Because I'm telling you, I'm almost perfect with that control over me. But sometimes I just want to grab somebody by the neck, but I don't. but I'm in control enough to where I say, okay, hey, you might well just be quiet because I'm not listening anymore. And then that's gonna set them off. It's like I'm trying to tell you this discussion isn't going anywhere, but you don't want to shut it down because if I go to your level, then it's like, a back and forth banner, which I can't do. So we have to get to a place of maturity where we learn ourselves enough to know, like, hey, I'm not ready for this conversation, so I hold off for a minute.
Yeah, I agree. I would add that it rejects the notion of understanding. If I am if I am in my immaturity, like Roland just said, if the kid in me is the one that shows up mostly during our relationship, especially when you don't get your way, or especially when I'm not saying the things that make you feel good. I'm being honest, but my honesty isn't welcome because at the end of the day, if I'm being honest with you, like I said previously, I run the risk of hurting your feelings. So now what we're saying now is that how you feel is more important than an intimate relationship, a relationship with depth and breadth to it. So what you would do is you will highlight your feeling. Because think about it, that's really all this is, right? You will highlight your feelings over the idea of understanding and connectedness. So you will avoid conversations when it needs to be had. You will become passive aggressive when it comes down to communication. And here's the funny part about it, especially passive aggression. It is so ingrained in us that we will passively and aggressively do things, right? And it's very interesting. Instead of just asking a direct question, you will make a suggestion and think that you gave that person the idea to do it. You will say certain things in such a way to where it sounds more of a thing of control than it is of a thing of honest, open communication, to where we both are communicating with one another to such a degree that we value each other. And that's where the issue comes in. So poor communication habits gets us to the point to where understanding is not present at that particular point in time. You're more focused on how you feel than the depth and breadth of the potential of the potential that this relationship can actually yield. And at the end of the day, let's just be completely transparent. You will hold that posture until I come to you and apologize, even though I was not the offender. And that's the notion. So there is no accountability in that. So all of these things start to surface. And I think somebody put it in there. It becomes a thing of arrogance. It becomes a thing of pride. It becomes a thing of entitlement. It becomes a thing of control. All of that is present. And then if for whatever reason, because again, we're talking modern day relationships, when divorce or separation becomes the option, then the story that you present to everybody who knows you pegs me as the bad guy simply because I wouldn't let you have your way. So now I become a narcissist, I become a gaslighter, I become all of those things. When in all actuality, I was just trying to be honest. I was trying to be open. I was trying to have honest conversation with you, but your emotions wouldn't allow that to happen. And again, I'm not just saying man to woman, it's also woman to man. It happens both ways. It's not just specifically one gender, it is both people because we live in a world where I'm being completely transparent. I see a lot of hyper emotional men as well. So that becomes a thing. Listen, appreciate you guys. We got one more just hanging there with us. We're going to jump down to the spiritual disconnection and lack of purpose. And the question that I have for you, last question of the night: how does the absence of a shared spiritual foundation or higher purpose, if you're not necessarily spiritual, contribute to feelings of emptiness and disconnection in relationships?
You cannot expect to have a perfect relationship or even foster the climate of a good relationship when you don't have the same foundation. Because what'll happen is you're trying to please a person as well as the Most High, a person as well as whatever you believe, because now you're trying to force that on somebody else instead of gradually learning together. Like, hey, because when they get to know you, they should be getting to know him. They should be getting to know your beliefs and how you see things. Because when they do that, then they have a level of respect for it. But when you try to push it on them, then it's like, oh, I don't believe that. I was born a Pentecostal, I'm gonna die a Pentecostal. It's like that's not really a thing. That's kind of made up, but okay, you can die one. Uh, and then you do just like that. You throw that little sideways jargon in there. You throw that passive aggressive stuff in there, and now it becomes an argument. So I think the disconnect in those type of relationships is because it was never connected. So there will always be a disconnect.
I'm gonna speak to the higher purpose portion of this. Um, Many times we've on this show we've talked about the relationship being the number one, or being the target, being the most important person in the relationship. So when you put the relationship first, that takes away the individuality. So, but if you do not do that, then what you have a lot of times is people focusing on themselves, right? Like we talked about earlier, self this, self that, right? So now you have two people going their own route, right? Because they don't have a higher purpose. And just like a lot of people, most people don't like being alone, especially when you're in a relationship. There's no worse feeling than being in a relationship and feeling alone. Well, when you have two people that are constantly focused on themselves, at some point, that's when you start getting that emptiness and you start feeling that disconnect with inside of the relationship. So when people are not focused on that, you feel the disconnect, you feel the emptiness, and you feel a whole lot more that goes along with that. That's when the arguments come in. That's when the all of the other stuff, the condescending remarks, the sarcasm, the neck rolling, a lot of these things come in, and some of these are just behaviors that come along with the emptiness and the disconnect in a relationship.
To me, it's simple. The the word all in the Hebrew, right? Yes, it can be translated to the word God as well, right? Uh, Modern Hebrew said El or Elohim, but all the Aleph and the Lamed, right? It's the it's also an acronym used for the chief ox, right? The elder ox, and the in the fold. And what happens is you will yoke that ox to another ox so that that ox can pull the younger ox along and can teach him how how to graze the field, how to plow, how to pull, to teach him how to do what he needs to do. But you have to yoke him to that ox, right? See, and so if you're going to yoke two oxen together to the elder ox, that all, they have to be the same size, ideally, right? Because you want them yoked together so that they can move together, so that they can plow together, they can learn together, they can grow together. Well, the all, that chief, that elder ox, the all, remember the word is also translated in English to the word God. Well, if we're not yoked to the same all, to the same God, and then we start pulling, we start we we're not pulling in the same direction. If we're not going in the same way, we're doing two different things. Your all is doing one thing, and my all is going another direction. And so that's kind of what happens when we don't have a shared spiritual foundation or higher purpose, is that we're yoked to two different things going in two different directions. Uh, and then it builds up with frustration. And like Roland says, there's no connection. Uh, there can't be no connection because we're not connected to the same source. We're not on the same power grid. We're running on fumes, trying to keep up with each other. So I just I think that you have to really, really have conversations, because two people go to the same or belong to the same denomination don't mean they believe the same thing about the scriptures. You know, the way the scriptures are taught nowadays is so ambiguous. You really can't tell what one other person believes anymore, all because they go to the same type of church you go to. So you have to have these conversations, right? You have to talk. You have to sit down? How do you view a man according to the scripture? How do you view a woman according to the scripture? How do you view family according to the scripture? I think these questions are important, because we can look at this, because we teach this in the church, that me and you can look at the same scripture and get two totally different things. I thought it was one Bible. I thought it was one scripture. It means the same thing. But anyway, but that's why you have to ask these questions, so you know that you have a shared foundation and that you're going the same way.
For the sake of time, I think when there is an absence of a shared spiritual foundation or higher purpose, I will focus on the higher part, because a higher purpose really does come from a spiritual foundation in most cases, and in some cases not so much, but they do have a higher purpose, which simply means that they have a belief in something bigger than themselves. And because they have a belief in something bigger than themselves, they'll willfully and willingly sacrifice themselves for the higher purpose itself. So if we both have that same sacrificial idea, sacrificing ourselves for the higher purpose, and we're doing it jointly together, then what ends up happening is that we feel fulfilled in what we're doing. Well, when that does not exist, I am looking at you sacrificing for me. And if you are unwilling to sacrifice for me, I do not feel a connection with you. And if I do not feel a connection with you, now I feel empty, and I feel like you don't like me, you don't love me, you don't do this, you don't do that. So again, going back to what we talked about earlier, it's all about me, because I do not have a higher purpose. I do not see something bigger than myself. I see it all about me. So that becomes the issue, just to keep it short and keep it sweet and in a nutshell. Listen, I greatly appreciate you guys staying with us. I know we went a little over tonight. But again, this is an important conversation, because the idea is to create a holistic awareness. And to the question that was asked earlier, can we give a model of a healthy relationship? Tomorrow morning at 10:30, we will. But this one is all about creating a complete understanding, a complete awareness about why modern day relationships are doomed, because I don't think we spend enough time talking about it. So that being said, this takes us to our bittersweet moment. Final thoughts.
For me, I think all of this is simple. Get purpose driven behind what you're doing, right? And let the purpose be from the scriptures and from the Most High. And I think when it comes to relationships, it's harder to be doomed in your relationship if you are following after the pattern and after the mold and after the purpose of the Most High. And when that's the goal, everything else that we do will fall into place. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but it'll come together in the end. That's all I have.
Within a relationship period, whether that's intimate or relationships with anyone, I think my first mission is to focus on the continued relationship with the Most High, get to know who I am in Him. And second, and knowing who I am in Him makes it to where I know what I will and won't accept, and my limitations and capabilities. And then third and foremost is, as I get to know those two things, it allows me to actually have a relationship with my circle of friends and family. That's it.
Let's be honest. I think most people know why modern day relationships are doomed. I think part of the problem is that a lot of people are living in some sort of fantasy land, chasing a version of relationships that doesn't really exist. I think part of it is we have lost some of the art of commitment, accountability, and Also understanding that relationships actually take work. It's not something that's always easy. There's ups and downs that um, go on in the relationship. I think everyone wants to benefit, but that not everyone is willing to sacrifice or compromise or heck even understand their role with inside of the relationship. I think part of the me, like we talked about earlier, the me first culture, or it's all about me, or the self culture. I think some of that is destroying the foundations that kept the family strong, um, or even keep relationships strong. I think that you can't really have success in a relationship unless you're looking um, for an escape every time things get tough, because those things are going to happen. So I guess I would ask yourself, you know what I mean, anybody who's out there who's single or struggling in a relationship or something like that, what I mean, are you willing to do what it takes, what I mean, for your relationship, or are you part of the reason why modern day relationships are doomed?
I greatly appreciate all perspectives. I want to kind of go back because one of the beginning parts, and this is not the main reason. It's not the only reason. A lot of us weren't taught the right thing as children, and because we weren't taught the right thing as children, we became young adults, and we did things in such a way. It's kind of like trial and error. We've seen things on TV, we've seen things at school. We got into the happily ever after thing. And then through trial and error, we went through some pain, some hurt, some heartache, whatever the case may be. And those things kind of made some people calloused. And when you get calloused in relation to relationship, you will have that notion that if this, then that. Hmm. If this, then that. Well, that's not a relationship. That's a contract. Right. That's kind of like the conditions that if the conditions are set for this, then this is what the action is going to be. Right. There is no reconciliation. It's written. It is written in from the beginning that if this person behaves like a human, then I'm gonna quit. If this person acts like a human, then I'm gonna quit. And then you agree to those terms in the beginning of the thing, and you'll call it a relationship. And then we follow the world system of what marriage looked like, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But then the world system of what marriage looks like does not fit what the true intent behind what marriage is. And so, because we're governed, or we believe we are governed under the world system of marriage, we adopt what the world system says that we can do with marriage. And that becomes the notion. The issue behind all of that is that most of us never matured into the space to where adulthood says that I am healthy, I am ready, I am prepared for a relationship. So we get in relationship with another person and still expect that other person to take care of the child and me. That's one of the biggest problems. So you have entitlement, you have the pride, you have the arrogance, you have the control that exists in the space of relationship. So all of these things reflect what we see today in the modern day relationship because it's not governed by a higher principle, right, which says what relationship is supposed to be, and it governs the behavior of both parties in the relationship, not the controlling nature of either party. It's not governed by a shared vision, and it is self-focused. So those three things become the de facto pathway to the devastation that results when those bombs get to ticking. So we got to get to the point to where we're teaching the right lessons. We as adults, especially us Gen Xers, we got to be honest. We taught some things wrong. We got to go back and be completely honest so we can help the younger generation understand relationships better. And that being said, that's my final thought. Listen, greatly appreciate you, value you, everybody in the chat, everybody who is listening, everybody whatever platform you're on. Listen, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, we're going to be talking about reframing the image of relationship, and that is all about understanding what it means to become one. So that being said, make sure you check the show notes. Show notes, you'll find your free download, and become a part of the community where conversations like this happen on a consistent basis, not just on these platforms, but in the community chat where we tend to ask each other questions, send uplifting information, so forth and so on. So that being said, listen, you guys have a great rest of your evening. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a fantastic weekend. If we'll see you tomorrow, I'm going to tell you the same thing at the end of that show. Listen, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.